Hi, it's Dougie Wood, and in this video I'm going to be showing you some great examples of some SharePoint intranets, both home pages and content ideas. So what we're going to be covering off in this particular video, as I say, there are going to be some examples of SharePoint Online sites, which will include intranet home pages, different layout options, as well as some names that you might want to call your intranet. We're also going to be looking at some department sites, so different departments like sales, human resources, finance. Um, there's also an element of brand guidelines. So we've got some ideas about how you can share your brand guidelines with your organization, as well as some content ideas. So some things that you can include in your SharePoint intranet to make it as valuable as possible. So let's take a look. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is some intranet home pages. And now I like to give them slightly different names to be able to separate the different types of layouts. So the first one we're going to look at is called OnePlace. I love the name of this intranet, and I can't take credit for this. It was actually one of my clients that came up with a name for their intranet, as it was one place to find all of their content. So I really like this idea. OnePlace is a really good mixture of when we're looking at these kind of layouts in terms of using things like the news scroller across the top here to show news articles which are coming up and allowing users to be able to click through and read the full article. I'll just go back to the home page. You can scroll through them as well by using these sliders on the left hand side and the right hand side. Then on the right hand side, we can see we've got this countdown timer. Now this is set to a product launch, but it could be set to anything you wanted to do. So there's a particular event that's coming up or a key date that you want people to be aware of. It's also got this kind of call to action functionality that you can click on this button and it might open up a form or go to an external web page for a registration of an event or something along the lines of that. Underneath, we've then got this secondary news area. So these might be news articles which are pulling from other areas of the internet, maybe some department sites or some of the community sites that are part of the overall intranet. We can also see on the right hand side on the secondary kind of content area, we've got My News. Now it's becoming much more popular to actually have what they call audience targeted news. Now SharePoint Online will allow you to create news articles which are targeted at specific groups of users. So you can actually not only target it just on an individual team, but maybe a department or a business function, maybe a geographical location. So that means then when I log on to this, maybe I'm seeing news here, which is targeted me based on the department I work in or news of the country that I work in. Further down, we can also see some recommended viewing, and this might be, again, links to videos that could be on YouTube, but they could also be on Stream as well, and we could embed Stream videos directly into SharePoint natively using the Stream web part. Other cool features of this template is embedding things like Yammer, so we can have some feeds in here so we can share thoughts and ideas and updates. We could also embed a Twitter feed and we can see the latest tweets which are coming from a specific Twitter handle. On the right hand side, just skipped over here, we've also got some content, things like my recent documents. Now, there are web parts in SharePoint which will provide almost like a tailored experience to a user to show content which is specifically relevant to them. So these are documents that I've recently opened from, say, the policy area of my SharePoint intranet. It'll also show me frequent sites I'm accessing. So again, making it easier for people to navigate between different areas of your intranet. We can see these are some of the different sites I've been recently accessing. Then underneath this, we then have our kind of call to actions, and these might be linking out to learning portals, social groups. We're going to talk about benefits, having a benefit site later on. But these could be linking out to some of your key kind of areas of your intranet. And then again, finally at the bottom right corner here, you've got my recommendations. So these are documents maybe that are in areas that I'm working on, but I've not yet opened, and it's recommending that I take a look at that. So that's the first template, which I'm calling OnePlace. It's really useful, really great balance between kind of this clean kind of look, as well as having kind of plenty of news articles and dynamic content which is rolling up, which is bespoke and customized to the end user. So the next intranet homepage that I'm going to show you, I refer to as Lighthouse. And again, I really like this name for an intranet because it's almost like the beacon. It's the place where you go to get the latest kind of information, updates, and all that centralized point from your organization. Again, it's a very similar layout to the template I was previously showing you in the sense that we have this content on the left-hand side and this secondary content area on the right-hand side. But this is much more of a functional type of site. So when I'm working with my clients, I often try and explain that a SharePoint Intranet homepage is finding the right sweet spot between the kind of function or the functional kind of aspects like navigation and helping people find things, but there's usually very static content compared to more dynamic content, which is more free flowing, like news articles and events and content which is being created on a much more frequent basis. And you've got to find that right sweet spot because not every organization is going to have a large internal comms team, which is creating a lot of news articles and keeping that sort of thing up to date. So this one leans much more towards the functional side of things in the sense that we've got these large hero tiles across the top, which are really easy to change the background image, the text which sits on top of it, as well as the hyperlinks of where it's going to. And just like with any of the other sites, navigation, the hub navigation, quick links, we can link to anything we want that's got a URL. So as long as it's got a hyperlink, we could link to something internal, like a page, a file, a folder, or we could link to something external, like a news website, or if you're using something like Breathe HR or Bamboo HR, or any of those types of external facing kind of sites, you might want to link off to them from these tiles as well. So underneath that, we can see we do have a news function. So this is then rolling up our news. Again, this is quite a sort of a large volume of news that's being displayed on the homepage here. So we've roughly got about 12 different articles. Again, I ask our clients to think about reverse engineering how many articles you're actually going to be creating on what type of scale. Because let's say, for example, if you're only going to create one news article a month, then technically, as you create news articles, they'll drop off the page. But if it's 12 once every month, then it's 12 months for this news article to drop off the page because it'll slide across to the right like this, then it'll go to this list and then it'll drop off the page. Whereas if you're creating a news article every day, then this is only 12 days worth of content, which is really good, really fresh. There's nothing worse than coming onto an intranet homepage and finding a news article from something that was created at Christmas time and it's now currently summer, and you're thinking, hang on, how old is this content? So again, reverse engineer that and think, well, if you're only going to be creating a few news articles, then maybe use a layout which isn't going to be showing as many news articles on the page. Further down, we've got more things like call to actions here, which might be linking off to a certain innovation, type of projects or initiatives. Again, some more call to actions here where maybe linking out to kind of videos and using this. Again, this is actually a hero web part, which is only showing one tile and it's actually set to be in layers. And I really like this kind of look and feel because we can have a nice large image, we can have a title as well as a little category about what this is, and this can then link off to another one of our maybe sites. So I've actually created another type of site we're going to come on to talking about is an events, or in this case I'm using it as a conference site, and this could be like a promotion on our homepage to that particular conference site that we're going to take a look at shortly. Again, on the right hand side, we've got some more content. We've got things like we can have world clocks. So depending on where you're working in the world and different countries that you're collaborating with, you might want to know the different times of day. You could also have the weather. So if you're traveling between different offices, sometimes good to know what the weather is going to be between those different locations. Again, the My News, so this could be customized to you specifically, dependent on where you are in the world, your job sort of title, departments, that sort of stuff. You've got My Recent Documents and My Recent Sites again, just duplicating the functionality we were just seeing earlier, and then company events, so events which are coming up. So we've got some more examples of that coming up in a second. So the next homepage template I refer to as the hub. So the reason why I call it the hub is because that's what Microsoft know a lot of these kind of sort of sites as our hub site, as it connects things together, and it's sort of you're using a hub as your centralized place. So I quite like that name. For this layout, if I'm honest, this is actually my favorite type of layout, and you'll see on a lot of my videos I use this as my kind of go-to site. The reason why I like this site is because I find a really good mixture between that kind of balancing act we were talking about before of having functional things like navigation, as well as that kind of dynamic scrolling news content in this slideshow. And it's a great balance between the two because it's very important to have the right content loaded at the top of the page when you first see an intranet. So this is where we can actually see the news scrolling and the functional kind of links to quick access areas, things like raising support tickets or submitting expense requests. These are things you want to quickly access. So without having to scroll, we've got this directly here. Again, underneath this, we've got some call to action, so linking out to key things like policies, materials, marketing materials, branded materials, as well as forms as well. So these are key things in intranets people are often wanting to jump directly to. You can also include things like a mission statement or a quote from somebody that's actually you're wanting to kind of embed this into the daily kind of work life of people so it really gets ingrained into everything that they do. Again, we've got some news here, and actually I've chosen just to show 3 news articles here. So this is a great layout if you're choosing to have an intranet which maybe doesn't have a lot of news content that's being created all that often. So say, for example, if I was only creating a news article once a week, that would mean that I'd have 4 articles a month. So that means that I would only have this news article displayed for 4 weeks, and then after a month it would drop off and it would appear this see all area. Once the news articles have dropped off this, so once you've got more than 3 news articles, that see all option will appear. And when you click on that, that'll take you through to this area where you can see all the news articles that previously appeared on that homepage. So just going back then, scrolling down. Underneath this, we've also got upcoming events. So this could be things like get-togethers, fundraisers, charity events, but it could also be related to training or conferences, webinars, things like that. The cool feature I like about the events as well is that you can click on this add to my calendar, so you can add that event as a reminder to your own calendar that that's coming up. We've also got this call to action here. So this is where we can have a button which is linking off to maybe some key policies or again, an initiative campaign that you're currently trying to promote. Again, on the right hand side, we've got this secondary content area. So this is where we could do things like having quick links or call to action. So do you have a question? This could link off to a contact form or even generate and open up directly an email. You have people web parts. So this is great for sort of embedding who maybe the useful contact is for this particular intranet if you've got any questions. Again, embedding latest tweets. Or quick charts. So quick charts are really useful as they're much quicker to update content rather than embedding Power BI. So now I don't want to say that you can't use Power BI because you can use Power BI. There is a web part that you can add into a SharePoint page if you do have Power BI reports. But I really like these quick charts because they're super simple to update. And in fact, if I just go into edit mode, I'll quickly show you how they're updated because it's so super simple. I'm just going to open this up, click on edit web part, and then we can see I've already added in these fields, but I could add in, say I've got October, November, December. Let's add in January, for example, and then we'll add in a value, and you can see it's automatically updated here. It's really super simple, quick, and easy to update. Let's just republish my page. Again, that can be in a bar chart, or it can be a pie chart. And I've also chosen to add a sort of video of the month, which could be an embed from YouTube, but again, we could embed stream videos or even stream channels directly into our SharePoint page as well. So let's talk a little bit now about some other types of sites. So department sites. So say, for example, a sales department site. So quite often you get department sites which are all about promoting content that department wants to share with the wider organization. And going back to my intranet homepage, you can see as a hub site, we can have this hub navigation bar, and quite often you'll have a top header called departments, which you can then link off to things like a sales department. So as a sales site, this is traditionally a bit more of a functional type of site. So we're using things like this hero tiles to make it easy for people to jump directly into certain content, which is going to make the lives of salespeople a bit easier. So it might be, say, for example, top tips for salespeople or information on how to communicate product value. This is all going to be content which is going to be really useful, especially to the sales team, sort of new starters that are joining. There might be a bit of information here as well about things like how we work, the sales vision, things like that, which is for the wider kind of organization to know exactly what does the sales department do, how does it work, and these are almost like FAQs, which may lead on to they could be documents, PDFs, but it would be better if they were SharePoint pages to kind of build out that kind of portal a little bit more. Again, we can create news articles from here. So these are news articles that are tagged with the global sales site. So if we were to roll these up onto our homepage, we would know of our intranet, we'd know which department site these news articles came from. We could also tag in here the sales team. So as a sort of sales department, quite often there are sub teams which sit underneath this, which we might want to branch out to individual team sites. Now, quite often you would only see the teams that you have access to, and you would only be able to access. So say, for example, if I was a member of the consumer retail team, I could click through to this and I could see my team site here. So I could see maybe some news articles, some useful guides, resources, as well as some sort of product pictures, images, some information about the products that we're actually selling. So this is almost like a little starter pack of information that's going to be really useful for me as a member of the consumer retail team. And this actually is a SharePoint team site, which means that it could also be related to a Microsoft team where I could have that instant messaging, that collaboration with my team members as well. So I'm just going to go back to the sales homepage. So then underneath that, we've also got upcoming sales events. So these might be conferences or things like that, or training that's coming up. Popular documents, so things I might want to download. Maybe sales materials, that sort of stuff. Again, we could see maybe some events or town hall type events which have come up, videos and useful contacts as well in the sales department. Next up, is our events template. So events, maybe things like, I'm going to show you an example of a conference that you're using this for, but any kind of events department would probably want to use these types of things to be promoting core events which are happening around the organization. So this is an event which is promoting a conference for drone enthusiasts. But essentially, take this with a pinch of salt. This could be any type of event. So in this scenario, it's simulating a conference for a tech organization, which is running conferences about certain technology like drones. But you could take this with a pinch of salt and apply it to all sorts of different events. So you can see the homepage is promoting the sort of the date of when this event is going to be happening, a countdown timer to when the event is going to get started, as well as a bit of sort of text about what it is. Maybe you could include some events which are sessions which are taking part on that day, and even add those sessions as reminders into your own calendar, as well as promoting the keynote speech, what the schedule of the conference is going to be, and even providing an area where you could sign up to get tickets maybe for your particular event. Also, we can see that we could have pages which link off to details of who the speakers would be at this particular conference, the schedule, the event, and FAQs related to that event. But this is just one example of how you could potentially use this layout. It's a great way for internal comms teams to be promoting an event which is coming up and build up that hype and that buzz around it. Before we go any further, just a quick reminder, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help us grow this out further. Like the video, and if you've got any questions, ask them in the comments box below, and we try to make sure we respond to everybody. But let's get back to the video. So the next department site we're going to take a look at is the marketing site. And this is one of the most important sites to get your kind of content across in the right way. So going back to our departments links here, I'm just going to jump into my marketing site from here. And you can see the marketing site, it's a great way of promoting things like maybe it's a product launch or an event which is coming up, or anything that the internal comms is trying to push out at that point in time. You could use this countdown timer, which we've looked at in other areas of the intranet so far, but you can have it as a full width section on your SharePoint page. So other things that we've got, so we can have news from your teams rolling up onto here. So again, this is just a news web part, which is displayed in a slightly smaller area. And this could even be a little scroller as well of some content that you want to promote. They might want to link off to some brand guidelines, and we're going to talk a little bit more about brand guidelines in a second, in the fact that we're going to have our own brand guidelines SharePoint template site as well. But you can also see that we can have things like find photos. Another common thing that marketing teams do with SharePoint is that they have a stock image library that's pre-approved of images that you can have stored on SharePoint, and even have an org image library. So when you're adding images to news articles and pages in SharePoint, rather than using the sort of upload images or stock images, you can actually have your own image library appear in there, as well as your org images. But essentially that needs to feed from somewhere, which is typically the marketing site, where they maintain that stock images to make sure that they stay on brand. So we can see we've got other things in here. So maybe it's linking off to social media content or content related to sort of presentations. We can see marketing events which are coming up, as well as some generic information that you might want to give out about the global footprint, global assets and toolkits that you offer, as well as, again, maybe a large kind of call to action for one of your campaigns or initiatives that you're running. So this is the typical kind of marketing homepage. Looks really nice, really clean. You might also want to have a bit of information about who you are, your kind of overall vision and strategy, as well as the leadership. So maybe some pages about the leadership team and members of the team, what it is that you do. So this might be all the services that you offer, or even linking to, if you have like a marketing collateral form that you want people to fill out to request things that are created for them. But essentially, this is the overarching marketing site. And I think it's got a really good, clean look and feel to it. It's a great place, as I say, to have a sort of centralized point for things like stock imagery and branded materials to make sure that people are staying on your brand guidelines. Talking of which, the brand guidelines for a lot of organizations tend to either be PowerPoint slides or a PDF or something like that, which is a bit of a document which floats around and not always given the attention that it should have. So why not, instead of doing a document and creating a document for this, why not create a SharePoint site specifically for this that you can pass people through to as a kind of self-service area to get the information that they need to ensure that they stay compliant with brand guidelines. So this might be a simplified version of the marketing site we were looking at before, but essentially it could be linking off to things like the stock imagery that we're talking about before. Maybe it's just giving some people some really easy information about why things like simplicity matters and the importance of keeping brand identity going. So it's quite often their articles, their pages, their almost like wiki articles, news pages, which helps educate people. Again, having some quick links to things like photos, brand guidelines, PowerPoint templates, Word templates, things like that, and just some generic information to make sure that people are staying in compliance with your brand guidelines. There might be some general information on things like what's the story of your brand and where things came from. So it's great for especially sales guys to know the kind of overarching brand story. So when they're speaking to your customers, it's transparent in everything that they're talking about, as well as things like strategy, identity, and resources that can be used as well. Also, having a help function as well, so some FAQs. So often marketing teams get inbound questions about what they can use, how they use it, things like that, which you might be able to automatically answer with FAQs. If you want to look at building an FAQs, I do actually have a separate video on my channel, which is all about building FAQs in SharePoint. So check that out because that could be really useful in this scenario. Or it could even just be that you're wanting to ask a question which opens up an email or goes to a Microsoft form or something like that. So the next department site I want to talk about is finance. So finance is a very common department site that you see on SharePoint, as it will often provide key information, forecasts, and things like that to people, as well as providing an area for things like expense requests. So let's take a look at that. So this is the finance site layout that I've got here. And as you can see, we've got across the top here that hero tile. Again, I really love using this kind of single layered hero tile to give it an image, a bit of text, as well as a little category label across the top. And then we can have this continue reading text, which actually you can change that text. It doesn't have to say continue reading. It could say read more or discover more or click here or whatever you like. But that can then click off to a little bit more information about what the finance team does, which might be one of these pages up here. So our leadership, how we work, or one of those sort of pages that we've got linked to across the top as well. Underneath that, we've got a little bit of a sort of bio text area of what the department is and what we do, as well as some links as well. So some useful links, maybe to the sort of the vision of the or the leadership of the department, as well as some useful links out to maybe things like expense requests or that sort of stuff. Again, some upcoming events from the department, as well as some useful downloaded materials. So if you yet to sort of create a expense request power app, you might still be using Excel spreadsheets or forms or things like that, and you might want to have these as documents that people can download directly from this useful documents download area. As well as having some news. Again, creating the news on this site will create it as news that's been created on the finance site. So if I was to roll this up onto the homepage, I could see when there's a year-end reminder or when there's a change to the expenses process and policy. That news article could be pulled up onto my intranet homepage, and I could see that it was generated on the finance site. This is another little example of FAQs, as I was saying before. I really like using sections, or in this case, collapsible sections as FAQs, and then you can just move between the different sort of questions that you have. And answering FAQs on your intranet page is a great way of reducing traffic of questions and emails and phone calls to that particular department. The next department site I'm going to be talking about is the human resources or HR site. So this is a great place for storing information on kind of sort of policies, general kind of self-service portal. Again, can reduce the amount of questions that employees have that are directed at human resources if there is a proper self-service portal set up. So this is an example of a human resources site. Across the top, we might have some news articles which have been created. So the news articles that are created from this site, again, are going to pull up onto our intranet homepage and say they've come from the human resources site. So any kind of updates related to kind of policies, benefits, things like that are really good to be created from this site so that they're rolled up onto the homepage and people can trust that they know that they're coming from the human resources. So they are a trusted kind of policy change. Other things, so we've not seen this yet in any of these examples, but you can embed things like PowerPoints and other types of documents directly into a SharePoint site. So you can see here we can flick through this PowerPoint on different slides, as well as we can see upcoming sort of dates. So in this case, we're looking at upcoming corporate holidays in the US, but you might want to have that to be all sorts of different things. So maybe some training that's coming up, or sort of get-togethers, parties, conferences, all that sort of stuff as well. So we can see here we've got things like going to our benefit site. So we can talk a bit about benefits in a second, but this might link to key kind of areas of that benefit site. So things around sort of gym memberships or employee handbooks, discussing things like work-life balance and that sort of thing. as well as links to core areas like careers, so learning development, feedback, maybe linking to areas where you're submitting information to your sort of line manager for personal development plans, things like that. Links out to key tools that you're using, things like booking holiday, payroll systems, that sort of thing. You can embed Power Apps as well. So this is just an example, but it might be, say, for example, if you're booking a holiday, you could embed your holiday request Power App directly into your SharePoint Human Resources site. Again, across the bottom, we've got some useful contacts. So these might be people that you can reach out to. Now, I would suggest using this with a little bit of caution, because if you ended up embedding people into this page, these are the people that are going to be receiving kind of the contacts, the questions and things like that quite a lot. So if you don't want that just to be going directly to people, then you might want to use like a call to action, which when you click on that, opens up an email to a shared mailbox instead. Then the final site that I want to talk about is company benefits. So this quite often sits side by side with the human resources site. Now, I tend to find when I'm working with different organizations that actually they often have really good benefit packages. The problem is that they're just not shouting about them to their employees, and they should know about that. And actually, um, boosting kind of retention and holding on to people is really important. And having something like a SharePoint benefit site can really increase that kind of stickiness of your employees to stay around, because they're actually seeing the benefits that they have, and also it's answering the questions that they might have about making the most of those benefits. So having a site like this where we can link off to core kind of information about the benefits is going to be really useful. Again, we've got this hero tiles here that we can navigate to some of the core kind of areas. We can see information about sort of maybe sort of financial education that you provide, or medical treatments, or medical care, I should say. We can also see things like corporate kind of holidays, events which come up. So even just telling people about things at the Christmas party, and maybe you have a summer kind of get together and things like that, and showing those kind of benefits off is really kind of impactful, especially to new starters that are joining the organization and they're trying to get a feel for the company culture and what the types of benefits are that they can receive as part of working for your organization. Again, we can break this down into some other areas, so under benefits, or even work-life, so work-life balance. So talking about time off, linking to vacations, policies about making sure people are taking holidays, and all of that good stuff we can roll up into these kind of navigational areas. So well done if you stuck all the way through that. If you did, please let me know in the comments, because this is one of the longest videos actually that I've done. Originally, I was planning that it was going to be a 10-minute kind of overview, and it ends up being much more of a deep dive. So if you like the longer videos, I would like to hear from you. Let me know. I can do a few more of them in the future, or if you'd rather have my videos a little bit shorter, maybe around the 10-minute mark, let me know as well. Please do subscribe to the channel, like this video. Any thoughts, comments, questions, use the comments box below, and I hope to hear from you shortly. Thank you.